Hello everyone. So this is going to be a slightly different video than what I'd normally do. I don't really have a script, so I'm just going to sort of freeball it and just sort of give my opinions as we go, do something a bit more fun. So I have the entirety of the 15th Doctor's era up here, everything from the Church on Ruby Road all the way up to the finale, which I'm trying to think of the name, all the way up to the Reality War. This one doesn't have the giggle in it. As great as I think the giggle is, it is fundamentally a Tennant episode, so we're just going to stick with the 15th Doctor's era. So I'm going to go chronologically throughout, starting with Church on Ruby Road. I'm going to give my thoughts, I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to put them into this tier that I've got. Okay, so Church on Ruby Road. While I don't think it is in any way a bad episode, I just don't find it that challenging or that interesting. I think the basic plot works above anything else. It does a really good job of setting up the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday's dynamic going forward into the series. But apart from that, I really don't find it to be that interesting or that challenging of an episode. The introduction at the nightclub is fun. We see a more loose, more open, more sort of happy 15th Doctor, just chilling at Christmas time, living his best life. It's a good first sort of meet for these characters. As far as villains go, the goblins are fine. Honestly, I wasn't a big fan of the song at first, but it has sort of grown on me with time. As far as first Doctor episodes go, as I said, it's fine. I don't think it's particularly great, but it's not particularly bad. I think the world building is good. It did a good job of setting up the Mrs. Flood intrigue. Ncuti and Millie's chemistry is really good. And how it sort of ties to the finale, it's all sort of set up here. But yeah, I think as far as introductories go, it's fine. I'm probably just going to stick it in a C tier, I think. Yeah, I think C is probably fair for this episode. So Church on Ruby Road, you get a C grade in my Doctor Who 15th Doctor tier list. Oof, okay, Space Babies. When this episode title was announced, I was a bit deflated. I was a bit like, really? That's what we're doing here? So I do want to talk about some positives. So the concept of the spaceship that sort of, it's creating a child's narrative. It's being scared of the bogeyman. It's this idea that like it persists like ship-wide. Like the Doctor feels it when he's on board, and Ncuti being like, wait, why am I scared? Like it's good. That in itself is good. The concept of the bogeyman is good. I even like the Doctor's throwaway line being like, is that your dog downstairs, or whatever it is, which is also a subtle little allude to Sutekh, and I will not hear anything else on the subject. They're all fine. Again, further establishes the Doctor and Ruby's growing dynamic. They're good together. They're such a solid TARDIS team. It was a lot of fun. The actual Space Babies, which I guess is the meat of the episode, was cringy. Like, it's not good. Like, even I'm not a big fan of sort of like baby stuff. Like, always a concept. I think it's kind of cringy. I found a lot of the resolution was juvenile, that it was like a big fart that like ignited the spaceship and stuff. And while I think the bogeyman is good, and the Doctor's speech with the bogeyman at the end, where he's so desperate to save it, like it's just this like new being. It's just the Doctor felt for it. Again, good. But the interactions with the Space Babies themselves, and the fact that these Space Babies become so relevant to everything going forward, just doesn't work in my eyes. Like, I can take bits and bobs of the episode, but on the whole, I really don't think it's good, and it's not one that I ever look forward to in a rewatch. So if I was going to go through Ncuti's era again, which I will do some point, it's one that I'm a bit like, oh, okay. And it's very early on as well. Like, ignoring the Christmas special, this is really your introduction to this new era of Doctor Who, and I really don't think they do a good job of it. As I said, there's little nuggets that I liked, but it's really not good. So Space Babies is going into the F tier. this one's not really for me. I'm not big on sort of musical-esque performances. While I found Jinx Monsoon to be absolutely fine, and the Maestro just as a character is fine, I wasn't overly sold. And again, if you're a big fan of this character or the person playing them, then great. I'm not trying to take anything away from you, not trying to be insulting, but for me, it's not good. So this was one of the first episodes that we had information about. And I was really excited by the prospect of there being a Beatles episode. I was like, okay, cool. We're going to have the Beatles, like the Doctor Who's finally going to do the Beatles, like you see their studio and stuff, and that was all fun. But it doesn't go anywhere. Like, not a lot happens. It was fairly uninteresting, and the Beatles are glorified cameos. Like, at absolute best, they were just cameos. The whole world not having music and the impact is good. Like, that works, although it did feel very much like it was just a copy and paste of what happened in Pyramids of Mars, where they went forward and they saw the world was in wrecks and ruin. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the practical effects, the notes that wrap themselves around Ruby and the Doctor. That I found not to be very good. The Doctor's fear of a Pantheon god, it carries on from the Toymaker. The whole speech about how it ripped him in half and he doesn't think he'd be able to go through it again. That's beautiful, that's good. Love stuff like that, keep those lines coming. But on the whole, I didn't like the Devil's Chord. So again, any Devil's Chord fans, if you enjoyed the episode, not trying to take anything away, but for me, it's going in the F tier. Okay, I think this takes us nicely into Boom. Boom is one of my favourites of this era. I really, really love the concept of it just being a very basic, oh no, it's a landmine, the Doctor's stuck on it. It's such a good character analysis for the Doctor, and Ncuti just shines in it. While I liked Ncuti's performances for the first 3 episodes, this is where I really thought, okay, this is Doctor Who now, this is the Doctor. I was very much like, oh, this is good. I even like the side characters, the church soldier that dies and his daughter Splice. We got Varada Seifu's character, who's meant to be a descendant of Belinda. We got Mundi, she was really good in this episode. Like Ruby's shock, like death, well, sort of death. I mean, the ambulances heal her, which is the craziest Susan twist in the whole show. It's just the build up, like the whole thing of it being like anti-war and the message came through really well. Like, I think this is one of Moffat's absolute best. It's just so good. Like, don't get me wrong, it is a 12th Doctor script through and through, with Ruby taking the place of Clara. Like, that's what it is. But Ncuti just brings it here. Like, this is such an amazing episode, and it's my favourite, well, maybe tied favourite of Series 1, or I'll call it Series 14, I'm not whole sold on the whole Disney titling. Anyway, I'm going to give it S tier, because it deserves it, in my opinion. So yeah, Boom. Boom is an explosive episode, and it deserves the S tier. Which brings us, I guess, now to 73 Yards, and this is probably going to be the most maybe controversial placing. Look, I know loads of people love 73 Yards. I know a load of people call 73 Yards the best of the season. Again, not trying to take anything away from you, your opinion, I respect it. You like that episode? Great. I appreciate you liking it. Enjoy it, go watch it, all the power to you. I did not like it very much. I liked the whole spooky sort of nature of it. And for the most part, I thought it was a good episode. I think the ending where it's just future Ruby and the whole thing's like a contained timeline, it's just stupid. It kills the momentum. But I also don't like how much of the gaps needed to be filled by the audience. And I know people can make the argument of, oh, well, like, that's the point of it, or it signifies a greater idea of loneliness and depression. And yeah, those themes are there, and they're really good. Like, they're executed well. But the whole episode just feels so abstract and just so out of place that it just feels like a mess. But it feels like it's lazy, pretentious writing. Like, in order to really understand it, or to really enjoy it, it requires so much work from the audience. which normally I don't mind, but it just feels like there's too much of it going on. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that Ruby Sunday is, like, as far as Dr. Lights go, this was absolutely a phenomenal episode with a lot of good going for it. I just found too much of it disjointed and messy. Okay, I am going to put it in C, but I will put it higher than Church on Ruby Road. So again, apologies if you find this too controversial, so put it in C, but it's a higher C than the Christmas special, so bippity boppity boo. Okay, so we've got, in my opinion, another phenomenal episode. Got Dot and Bubble. Now, I love sort of dystopian settings, I love dystopian stories, I love everything to do with the dystopia genre. So going into this episode, I was already going to be a fan. So the set design, visuals, and sort of costume is amazing. It's colourful, it's cheesy, it's cringy, and it sets these sort of group of young adults that are just stupid in this like environment so well. So the man traps in this episode are really good. I like the idea that they were set up to sort of eradicate all these problematic and awful children that are just causing issues. Like it makes sense. Admittedly, I sort of caught on right at the end. I think my partner caught on slightly before I did. The whole racism angle. I'm a little bit shocked that I didn't see it earlier. And on rewatches, yeah, all of it's there across the episode. Like just how ambivalent Lindsay is to talk to the 15th Doctor and stuff. It's horrible, but it's highlighted really well. And I think the Doctor's breakdown at the end, like them just refusing to help, them going off into the wilderness, they're going to die and stuff. And the way she just speaks to him, it's so awful, but it conveys the message so well. I love this episode. I love how like awful they make Lindy and they just run away with it. Like there's that guy, that celebrity that she really liked, and he was her chance of salvation, but she just sort of screws him over just for her own like sake of survival. Like she's really not a good person, and this episode just full thrust dives into it. Like this is also again sort of Dr. Lightish, but it's really good. I'm gonna put it in S. Yeah, you know what? I'll put it slightly higher than Boom. Boom's my personal favourite, but I will put Dot and Bubbles slightly higher. So, yeah, that feels right to me. So, Dot and Bubble, truly phenomenal. Really good episode. Okay, which brings us on to Rogue. Rogue's an interesting one. So, Rogue feels like the most sort of traditional Doctor Who episode of this series. You've got the Doctor, he meets this mysterious guy who's sort of investigating. It's Jonathan Groff's character. You've got Rogue. Rogue's chemistry with the 15th Doctor is really good. Although it's only contained to like a 45-minute story, I can believe the chemistry, I can believe the romance. Like together, they're just a solid duo. They really sell it. And I did find the actual flashbacks across the episode, like where he promised to protect Ruby, a bit out of place. I think had that been the beginning of Space Babies, that had been the cold open or something, then it would have helped the flow. But still, this episode's got a lot going for it. I really like the scene where Ncuti is in like Jonathan Groff's spaceship and they're sort of bantering with each other, and he starts playing that music and there's all the Doctor's faces and stuff. It's very fun, and the sort of back-to-back dialogue between the two is a lot of fun. I don't particularly like the villains. I find the whole bird creatures that love drama and love cosplay to be quite on the nose and a bit cringy. In terms of just like villains of the week, they were one of the weaker ones for me. But I don't think that matters too much because, as I said, I think that the main catalyst and the main sort of sell here is the Doctor and Rogue. Together, they're really good. Even Ruby felt quite sidelined. The sort of death felt a bit unnecessary, but it's sort of like assuming it was a one-off. I mean, he came back, but I assumed the original point would have been one-off, so it makes sense for the episode of the week sort of format. But I'm going to give it a B. It's definitely better, in my opinion, than 73 Yards and Church, but it doesn't hit higher for me. So yeah, Rogue, comfortably B, I think. Okay, which brings me onto The Legend of Ruby Sunday. I think I can quite comfortably say that of all the episodes of Modern Who, like the first part to two-parters or three-parters, this unquestionably feels like the best setup and the worst payoff. Like, I know, okay, that's probably a bit of a stretch. There are episodes with like a better setup, but in terms of this era and how the show has been for the past sort of maybe decade or so, this was such an incredible setup for a two-parter. So the suspense is there. So Unit's got this device underground that can like basically reformat existing media, and it can sort of build a world around it. I can't remember the title of the device, but it basically enables Ruby and the Doctor to see what happened on the church in Ruby Road that day. And there's all this massive build-up. We have everything going on with Susan Triad. We've got Mel back. She's investigating it. We've got the soldier that goes missing during the recreation of Ruby Road. There's the whole Doctor, what's that on the TARDIS? And you see this like monstrous shadow start to overwhelm the TARDIS. There was a bit too much Susan baiting for me in terms of the granddaughter, but that's fine. Especially when I watched it on the first go-around. Granted, some of the unit members felt a bit pointless. Like Morris and Rose, and even Colonel Ibrahim to some degree, maybe even Kate a little bit, just felt a bit pushed to the side, or were just sort of there for the sake of like world building. Look, we've got continuity, we've got these characters. But yeah, on the whole, it's really good setup, and the actual reveal, the build up, the whole Susan Tech, and then it was like Sue Tech, and then the whole mystery of Susan Triad, and the Doctor's like, yeah, but it's S Triad, it's TARDIS. And then Kate's like, well, yeah, we figured that out ages ago. Like, that's funny. That works. That's good. And then we got the big Sutek reveal. He's this big, kooky dog, and it's fun. And then it cuts. Like, it's really, really good setup. I'm going to put it in S tier. No, A tier? Yeah, I'll put it in A tier. Yeah, A tier. I'll put it in A tier. Sorry for me being indecisive. A tier for Legend of Ruby Sunday. Okay, that brings us on to the Empire of Death. Okay, so RTD is known for Deus Ex Machinas, so sort of like pulling some BS excuse out last minute and hitting a huge reset button. Like, we've already seen it in this era. We saw it sort of with like the Meep episode where like London starts cracking in half and then magically it like seals itself back up. Like, he's known for doing it. So when Sutek's gift of death starts to overwhelm the planet and you see the likes of Kate and Ibrahim and everyone in unit turn to dust, that was the point that I was like, okay, they're going to hit the reset button. Like, that was the moment in this episode that all momentum died for me, because I was like, RTD is not going to permanently kill off these characters. Kudos. I would have had more respect for him if he had. I mean, it still would have been kind of stupid, but I would have respected it more. Just for the sort of real shock value of it. And then the Doctor's just sort of lost. They find the Dream TARDIS, which is fun. A fun tie-in to the Tales of the TARDIS that they've got going on. And then like Ruby, Mel, and the Doctor are trapped at the end of the universe. Sutek is just like a toxic fan who wants to know who Ruby's mum is. The Doctor tricks him and then basically uses his magical rope from the Christmas special and walks him to death. Yep, literally walks the dog to death. And then, yeah. Like, it's a weak episode, but then the whole idea that Sutek's been on the TARDIS since Pyramid of Mars and has just been asleep is really stupid. Because, like, I think about the Pandorica opens and the Big Bang. The Doctor blows the TARDIS up. Is that not enough to wake Sutek from his slumber? And then, yeah, so there's just all these side characters that do absolutely nothing. Even Mel doesn't really feel like she does a lot. And then the whole thing gets reset. Ruby's finally able to discover who her mother is. The whole pointing at the sign and naming her is really stupid. I'm very much against that. And then, like, the Doctor's like, okay, bye. They say bye. It feels very deflating because they've been together 8 episodes. and one of them was a Dr. Light. And then the Doctor goes off, and that's it. Yeah, I think that the Sutekh dog form's really funny. I really love it, but not in a good way. It just makes me laugh. I'm going to put it in D, I think. I think there's enough sort of little nuggets there to keep it interesting. Sutekh stuff is fine. Thing is, it's not a good episode, but in my eyes, I found it to be more entertaining than Space Babies or The Devil's Cord. It's why I'm just about going to put it into D, but it's still, like, not good, really. So, yeah, D. And so far, that's our Series 1. Okay, so we should talk about Joy to the World. I prefer Joy to the World to Church on Ruby Road, which I know is not really a sentiment that a lot of people share, but I think it's got quite a lot of good going for it. I like all of the sort of timey-wimey like stuff to it. It's like, it feels like right from the get-go, the cold open, it's a bit weird, but it's an intriguing hook. Just the Doctor walking in and being like, was it cheese toasty, pumpkin latte, and smiling. And I think the whole concept of the Time Hotel is a really good one, that people can holiday to different time periods, and it means that rooms that weren't originally sold can be sold continuously through time. The fact it's just like connected to a rubbish little hotel, the Sandringham Hotel, which is a real hotel in Cardiff that I've stayed at before, is fun. I think Nicola Coughlan as like Joy is a good character. She could have been developed more, and she doesn't have as much screen time as I would have liked. But I think a contrast to Belinda or Ruby, who feel fairly bland a lot of the time, I feel like for better or for worse, she had more characterization, especially when the Doctor was pushing her a lot more. I feel like everything came together quite well. Like there was a lot of setup, but it all sort of interconnected in the end. I always like when the Doctor spends significant amounts of time trapped or deciding to stay in certain places. Like the Doctor spending the year at the hotel with Anita is the highlight of the episode for me. Like I kind of wish Anita was just like the other companion of the episode, because she is really good. So yeah, that all sort of works. I think the Star of Bethlehem at the end is maybe taking things a little bit too far, and I was kind of surprised about the COVID reference, but fair enough. So I actually think it's decent. It does feel like a Matt Smith episode. The same way that Boom felt like a Capaldi episode, this definitely feels like a Matt Smith surrogate episode. I'm going to put it in B, but I'm going to keep Rogue higher than it, I think. So B for Joy to the World. Okay, I didn't particularly like the Robot Revolution. So the whole thing feels quite messy. I don't mind the sort of like not futuristic designs of the world. Like I'm trying to describe it. It's sort of like retro future, like what people in the 1970s would consider the future. Like that sort of layout and design for the Belinda Chandra planet is funny and good. The whole thing at the beginning with her toxic boyfriend, like I get what they were going for, but like it's Doctor Who. I'm not really sure an incel plot is very necessary. I mean, I get it's sort of like a topic that needs to be discussed more, and it is like an awful thing for someone to be. But I would rather just have a fun sci-fi romp than that. Initially, I think this episode does a good job of setting up Belinda's character, but admittedly, she gets butchered by the end of the series. It's kind of like the more the episodes go on, the less of a character she has. So in a way, this is probably the strongest Belinda Chandra that we see throughout the whole series. I found the whole AI Al robot thing at the end to be really cringy. Like, I'd laughed because it just, I don't know, I just thought it was funny. Again, it's one of those where if this is an episode you really enjoy, then I don't want to take anything away from you. I'm sorry if I have offended you. I found it to be really amusing. And then, yeah, that's the race to get home and stuff, which I actually quite like as a plot tool. I think it's a good sort of narrative thread for a series. And I think the Doctor and Belinda have good chemistry. I think they bounce off each other well. They're a fun duo. I just didn't particularly enjoy the episode. So I'm going to put it in D, but I'm going to put it higher than Empire of Death. So Robot Revolution is in D. There we go. Okay, I love Lux. When I saw the trailer for this new series, I think the cartoon coming out of the screen was quite possibly the most hyped and excited I've ever been for an episode. I was like, oh my god. I was like, that's the Disney money. And it just looks so good. And Mr. Ring-a-Ding is creepy. The music is eerie. It's just everything that I love. It's like dark, evil, carnival sort of vibes to it. And I absolutely love that kind of thing. And I think the episode itself is really good. It gets a bit meta. I don't particularly like the bit with the fourth wall break with the fans. That was a bit much. But at the time, we all thought the Doctor was going to become self-aware that he was in a TV show. So maybe now that doesn't happen, I will enjoy it more. And it is one that I'm definitely going to rewatch. I love the setting. I think Miami in the early 20th century is a really good setting. I like the Doctor sort of talking about how like it's more difficult for him because of segregation being taken seriously because of skin color. It's a horrible thing that happened, but I think it's good that the show is sort of discussing it and showing how it's a horrendous thing. All the people getting trapped in the cinema is fun. I liked the guy who just ran the cinema. Like all of it's just really good. I think of all of the Pantheon gods, Lux feels like the most terrifying and the most like a threat in a really good way. And I think him taking the form of Mr. Ring-a-Ding was such a genius way of conveying this like evil light Pantheon. And then, yeah, I did think that the ending was slightly weak where he was being dragged off into space. I think the actual like, here, have all the light is really good. But the drowning line, it's been said before. I've been rewatching Eccleston and Tennant. I can't remember where, but it's definitely said by one of the Doctors more or less line for line. So the imagery, I mean, if it hadn't been done already, I think it would have been good. But yeah, on the whole, I love Lux. The Doctor and Belinda becoming the cartoon. The Scooby-Doo banter's funny. Like, it's very, very good. I think it's the absolute peak of Doctor Who for this era. I'm going to put it in S tier, and it's going to be at the very top. It's better than Dot and Bubble. In my opinion, Lux is the greatest high of this whole series, or this whole era. Okay, that brings us on to The Well. I was kind of anxious going into The Well. I love Midnight, and I don't think Midnight should have a sequel. I think Midnight, just as is a perfect piece of television. I think it's one of those where I think it's good, but I think the general populace overhyped it. Again, like I've said probably 4 or 5 times in this video, if it's your favourite or you love it, great. I'm very happy for you, and I mean that genuinely. While I think it's good, I think it's not as great as people claim. I feel like the actual plot tool, or the idea of it being behind her and then being in that circle, like I think if it was a separate entity, then it would have worked better. I think having that be the gimmick of this entity kind of kills it, because I get the whole she's deaf, so they weren't going to do the whole voice thing again. But like I just think they could have tackled it differently. I also found a lot of the just characters in it to be like Star Trek red shirts, like they're there but they're going to just die immediately, and that was what happened. I quite liked the second in command, the one who the Doctor's like, oh, trust me, babes, or whatever he says, and the guy just looks at him coldly and is like, do not call me babes. Like, that's funny to me. That sort of like, that foil to shoot his Doctor is funny. And the sort of the dynamic they have throughout the episode is fun. I also think the fact that we saw part of the entity kind of ruins it a little bit. It's like in the Weeping Angel two-parter where you see the angel move for a second, it kills a lot of it. I think the fact we saw the entity, even just for a really small amount, kills a lot of it, and to some degree it killed the rewatchability of Midnight, which I did watch about a week ago from recording this. So yeah, I think the whole thing's fine. I thought the actual reveal of what's this planet called? Midnight. That's good. Shoot his face, and just how terrified he is. Yeah, it makes sense. The Doctor being like, it's the most scared I've ever been in my life. Again, makes sense. Rewatching Midnight can see it for sure. I think the fact that the whole series leaked kind of killed it a little bit. I think had this been a shock, I would have actually been in my seat and been like, oh my god, it's Midnight. Like, that was killed for me because we all knew for weeks before that there was going to be a Midnight sequel. I'm going to put it in A, but I'm going to put it behind Legend of Ruby Sunday. Lucky Day. Okay, I like Lucky Day. Again, I know this was one where a lot of people thought it was weak, or a lot of people sort of thought it was killing the momentum of the series a little bit. I really like how dark Kate goes at the end. I really like when Doctor Who is dark and just flat out dark. I think that's really good. And I think that Kate being like, well, the Doctor's not here, and just takes control is really good. Comrade as a character is interesting. I kind of like how they set the seeds for the type of person he is before the big reveal in that village, where he's like, haha, I got you, you're being live streamed. Like I think that there's little moments, like they're subtle, granted, but it's when he and Ruby are talking about the Doctor, and he says something like, oh, were you and him an item or whatever? And Ruby's like, no, if anything, he'd start flirting with you. Like, he has a really uncomfortable and awful look. Like, it's only for a moment, and then he quickly corrects himself. But it's like little nuggets like that that are good and build up to just sort of like this man. I do kind of like the idea of someone like a conspiracy theorist or someone on TikTok or social media trying to debunk an organization like UNIT. It makes sense for the current day and age. But my counter to that is that, like, the human beings on the planet have seen aliens. There's no question about it. All of the 9th and 10th Doctor's eras is setting up the whole idea that, like, this is planet Earth's golden time where everyone knows aliens are real, they accept it, there's no question anymore. Like, Daleks invade, Cybermen invade. How can anyone in 2025 be like, nah, the government's lying to us, UNIT's lying to us, there's no such thing as aliens? Like, look, I get it's a separate era, so there is some level of disjoint, but when you've got references to things like Midnight and just by generation that literally links Doctors, it becomes that much harder to disassociate. Like, if we look at something like the 13th Doctor's era, which feels very, very separate to everything that came before it, then I think a plot like this has much more, like, legs to stand on. Whereas everything that's happened in this era up to this point is heavily connected to other things. So it makes it that much harder to believe it. But I think in terms of general setup for the finale, I think Comrade's a good villain. I think Millie Gibson gives a good performance. I liked the conversation she had with Kate. And I think this is the most character I've seen from Kate. And I think Gemma Redgrave just did a really good job. It's making me really excited to see what they do in the war between the land and the sea. So I'm going to give this one a B. I'm going to put it above Rogue, I think. So Joy to the Will can go there, Rogue can go there, and then we can swap these around. So yeah, Lucky Day, high B. Okay, the story and the engine. This is another one that I really liked. I think the whole concept of the barbershop and how it's like interwoven into African culture and how it's like presented here is really good. I think that the doctor's friend being there, it sort of adds more world building. It makes the Doctor's life feel more like grand, like when Belinda's not there, or when there's been times he's just gone off and he's had his own adventures, he's met different people. Like, I think it adds a great deal of depth to his Doctor. I think the barber is a really creepy villain. Like, I really like the sort of like concept of it needs to feed the story machine. So it keeps doing haircuts over and over again, and people keep relaying their stories, their truths, and it sort of feeds into this greater web. And then it's all connected to this giant spider, which is, I guess, like a Nancy or like other gods. I sort of called the idea that he was going to be a fake god, like quite early on. I figured that was where they were going with it. And it does kind of work, especially considering all of the actual Pantheon gods we had. And I don't think the intention is to be a fake out. I think for this specific character and how he is sort of like been a server of actual gods, it kind of fits his narcissism and his character well. I also like that he's not just a flat out villain, that the Doctor looks to save him and help him, and it's very good. I do enjoy it, but the whole like, oh look, it's all the Doctor's faces, I think it worked in Rogue, but here it's starting to feel a bit monotonous. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that, especially as the Doctor's story, his current story, is shooty, so I feel like to some degree it takes things away. I actually quite like the Fugitive Doctor cameo. I know some people don't because, well, it's just we got a Black Doctor. It's like just putting the two Black Doctors together. But I think for greater context, I think it works here. I'd be interested to hear what people's opinions are on that in the comment section. But to me, it's like there's just so much hidden to this Doctor's life. I really like story in the engine. I like the sort of visuals at the beginning. I really like the setting, and I think Ncuti just gives another incredible performance. I'm going to give story in the engine S tier, but I'm going to put it behind Boom, I think. Okay, that brings us on to the Interstellar Song Contest. Again, I'm not big on musical episodes. I'm also not the biggest Rylan fan, so a lot of this didn't really land for me. I also found like the Doctor's darkness makes sense, but it felt like he went too far. I understand that he was trying to feel like he was triggered by everything, but I think it sort of strays too far away from the Doctor's core character, because he is straight up just torturing someone. I do sort of understand the greater context. I get that he feels like he's alone, the last of the Time Lords, and this person is threatening like tons and tons of people. He ejected a load of people from a space stadium. Like I kind of get it. In a sort of way, it does kind of feel like a sort of camp, cheesy Doctor Who episode. So tonally, I think it had a lot of good going for it. This is the episode that's got Duggadoo in it, so what's not to love about Duggadoo, the best original Murray Gold track that the show has ever had. Again, this is where I feel like Belinda's character gets really butchered, because she's like, I need the Doctor, and then he starts torturing people, and instead of her being like, Doctor, you're in the wrong, she just sort of like is like, oh, I'm here for you, Doctor, I miss you, and it just that sort of didn't feel great to me. But again, just personal preference or personal opinions. I'm also, in retrospect, not a big fan of the Susan baiting. Like, I know the original plan was to have Susan as the cliffhanger at the end of the series, and that kind of makes sense. And I guess having her be the Doctor's inner voice sort of makes sense, especially if the whole point is that he is going too far. But it just felt like a cameo for the sake of shock value. Like a lot of this series 15 just feels like shock value, shock value, shock value. And this just feels like the epitome of it. I don't think this episode's bad, but it's not really for me. So I'm going to put it in C, but I'm going to put it behind The Church on Ruby Road. Okay, so Wishworld. So the Doctor, Unit, Belinda are all trapped in this fake reality that Conrad has created using the weird Wish Baby. Also, the Rani's there. So I kind of like the setting. I did find a lot of the interactions to be very on the nose. Like how you can't be homosexual in this world. Like, I get what they were going for. I get it's meant to be a warped 1960s dated view of things, but a lot of it just felt very on the nose to me. I found it kind of weird that the Doctor and Belinda were married and that the space baby was there as their child. Again, it's just trying to make the space babies the epicenter of everything of this era. I liked the design of the Bone Palace for the Ranis. And to be fair, I did kind of like the idea that they wanted the world to crumble, that was sort of the gateway or the way to access the underworld. Like, that's a good twist on things. And the whole mugs that were falling, like that makes sense to show that the world isn't quite right. Rogue's appearance felt kind of random, not gonna lie, but it was nice to see him back. much like sort of like the Monk trilogy, I don't really feel like they pushed the greater significance of this dystopian world enough. Like, I wanted to see consequences for people who broke the rules. Like, I wanted to see more just sort of like general people experience the world and how they felt about it. It kind of makes sense that anyone who Comrade doesn't perceive as perfect would be disregarded. So as awful as it is, having like disabled people not being part of this world makes sense. It just felt a bit padded for me. I also didn't really feel like Ruby added a great deal to this. I'll put it in C, I think, because like it was fine. Like I don't think there's anything atrocious about it. It just felt a bit waffly and a bit sort of filler. So I'll put Wish World in C. Okay. Reality War. So reshoots happened, the ending changed. I can appreciate that. So going into this, I'm going to try to be as sort of fair as I can with the knowledge that it wasn't the original plan. The whole plot felt like it got resolved quickly. And I remember knowing the episode was like 70 minutes or whatever. I looked at my phone when I thought the episode was over, and we were like 25 minutes in. And I was very confused by that. I was like, right, it feels like it's over, but it's been 25 minutes. Okay, so I don't like the fact that the new companion, Belinda, during the finale just got sidelined to a box. They literally put her in a box and sent her away. That felt really stupid. The whole Rani's plan falls apart when you have, like, Omega sort of come back. So it's the issue of... you think it's like, oh, we've got the Rani, they're the villains, great. No, they're shock value, but there's even more shock value. It's kind of like the Cybermen and the Daleks worked in the Series 2 finale because not one felt sidelined. You had the war between them, and that was the major catalyst. But it's like as soon as Omega appears on screen, the Rani gets eaten, and Mrs. Flood Rani just leaves. So that kind of kills the whole Rani thing. Comrade's ending is kind of stupid as well, because like despite creating this horrible dystopia world, like Ruby's like, oh, you know what, you made people happy, so you have a happy ending, and then he just becomes a chef. Like, it's really stupid. Omega's there for like 2 minutes, doesn't really do anything, and then the Doctor takes that device that he was using to access 2025 and turns it into a sort of gun. So that's cool. And then to try and save Poppy, the Doctor just edits reality and it triggers the regeneration, which is not explained very well, but again, last minute addition, so sort of is what it is. All of UNIT and everything just snaps back to normal, sort of like the Deus Ex Machina again. And then like the Doctor meets 13. I actually really like that scene. I think it's quite a fun send-off, and I kind of like the joke that everyone was like, oh, Tennant's coming back, and then it just wasn't, and they sort of reference it, like, that's funny. And then the Doctor regenerates. I'm not the biggest fan of the regeneration. Billie Piper's a perfectly great actress, but it just feels like a gimmick thing. It didn't really land for me. And then on the whole, the episode just felt really disjointed, very confused, and very messy. Even more so than like other episodes of this era. I think this one is sort of the worst traitor for just being a mess. I'll give it the slight edge over Empire of Death. But it's like nothing really happened or nothing really mattered in the end. This whole fake world just disappears. That's sort of it, really. The Ranis become kind of pointless. The whole Mrs. Flood build-up also becomes pointless. And then the Susan build-up goes nowhere. And then that's it for Ncuti, and it really feels kind of sad that this is the end of Ncuti, because I think that he was really, really coming into his own in the second series, even when the plots weren't exactly doing him any favours. So I'm going to put it above Empire of Death in D. I still think Empire of Death is worse, so that's it. So I think this is my final ranking of Shooty Zero. I know that there's going to be some controversial picks in here and that everyone's opinion is going to be fundamentally different, but this is sort of where I would place things. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any thoughts of your own, I would love to hear it down in the comments section. And yeah, I guess I will catch you all on the next one.